Hello, Persian guy again. This is the Mass Analyst. First of all, I owe you a big apology. About a week and a half or so ago, you had made a video response to me about Muslim taxi drivers, and I never got back to you, and for that I am sorry. In fact, I think I owe a few people apologies. I haven't been very good at getting back to people. I kind of got distracted by, I guess you would say, a nuisance. But, so I do owe you an apology. Someday I hope I'll have a chance to get back to your points about taxi drivers, because you made some interesting points that are worth commenting on. But that's not what this video is about. I'm making this video because somebody had gotten in touch with me through a private message saying that you had been threatening CapatinOAwesome and saying rather negative things about you in respect to Redhannah and some other people. Now, I was directed to watch Redhannah's video, and I did watch that, and I watched your video response to her about the death threats to CapatinOAwesome and various other things. Now, I haven't been following Redhannah's videos or yours or Grimley's, so I'm really not in a position to say who's right and who's wrong. It would take me quite a while to go back through the videos to review them. Maybe someday I'll have the time, I don't know. But I'm not going to make any pronouncements on something that I know very little about. However, I do want to comment on the allegations that you have made death threat or threatened CapatinOAwesome in some way. First of all, Redhannah seems to be alleging that you have discovered CapatinOAwesome's information and that you have disseminated it to others. At least that's how I interpret it. Maybe she just said you captured it. I'm not really sure. But in any case, her evidence was that you have shifty eyes. Now, she may have other reasons to justify her beliefs that you're responsible for discovering this information, that you're the one who was responsible for all this. I don't know. But the evidence presented that you have shifty eyes just doesn't quite cut it in my book. So I would be a little bit hesitant about making accusations against you on that front. However, I do want to discuss what you said, your threat. Now, you said in your video response that, and you played the video clip, and you indeed said that this was not a threat. What you said to CapatinOAwesome, that it shouldn't be interpreted as a threat. Well, the thing is, no matter how many times you say it's not a threat, that in itself doesn't make it any less of a threat. Nor does it make it something that a reasonable person wouldn't interpret as a threat. A reasonable person may interpret it as a threat, even if you say it's not a threat a million times. Look, if I was pointing a gun at you and say, hey, this isn't a threat, well, you're still going to think it's a threat no matter how many times I say it. Okay, let me read a relevant passage. First of all, you were upset with CapatinOAwesome because he had discovered your IP and was trying to locate you. Let's keep in mind that although I can understand why you'd be nervous about that and why that might not be cool, you can't discover someone's identity or their address based on IP alone. You need something else. Usually, a court-ordered subpoena will do the trick. Subpoena to your ISP, but an IP in and of itself is not going to reveal who you are. And you would threaten in response to this, and in addition to CapatinOawesome's threat to get you banned from YouTube, and I'm not really sure what that's about. I haven't been following. But you would threaten to. Let me read this. You said, report me for using your first and last name. Right, get me banned. I don't care. I'll make a new account. Get me banned. And then I will send that info of yours to every single Islamic group in America and the UK with an attachment of all your videos about the religion, because I think they would be very, very interesting in putting a location on the person who is blaspheming their prophet. Let me read that part again. Putting a location. Now, why would they be interested in putting a location on that person? Well, if all they wanted to do was to respond to CapatinOAwesome, to point out his flaws where he went wrong in his logic or evidence, or to ridicule him, or to make fun of him, or to call him an idiot or whatever, they don't need a location for that. If they wanted to send him literature to set him on the right path, Well, they could have sent him a private message, and if they needed to send him something longer that needed an attachment, they could have easily asked his address and sent him an attachment through email, all done anonymously. No, you don't need a location for that. The only reason why they would need his location is if they were going to threaten him or kill him. Can you think of any other reason why someone would be interested in his location other than to threaten, to intimidate, harass, or possibly even kill him? Now, you might argue, and you'd probably be right, you might say 99.999% of the Muslims are peaceful people. They're not going to kill anybody. That may be true, but it is totally irrelevant. All it takes is one, just one, to do the job. All it takes is one person to become so incensed by CapatainOawesome's videos to track him down and kill him. And by disseminating this sort of information, it's almost inviting a tragedy. Might I remind you, a few years ago, Theo Van Gogh made a movie called Submission based on a screenplay by Ayaan Hirsi Ali. And this movie many would consider blasphemous. It certainly was very critical of Islam. And as a result, he and Hirsi Ali ended up getting death threats, and he was eventually murdered. Now, Ayaan Hirsi Ali had gone into hiding, and she ended up having to move to the United States because of this. Might I also remind you that just a year or so ago, there were riots all over the world based on a few cartoons in a Dutch newspaper, and a number of people were killed because of these riots. Unfortunately, there is a history of Muslims, and they may be a very small number, but they're certainly there, of Muslims who have absolutely no tolerance for others' criticism of their religion or their prophet, or the mockery thereof. And as you know, CapatainOAwesome specializes in mockery in spades. His videos are very extreme as far as being insightful to those who don't have a sense of humor. And by spreading his information, as I mentioned, it's almost an invitation for a similar event to happen. Now, I'm sure this was not your intent, and as you mentioned, you're now on reasonably decent terms with CapatainOAwesome, and that you're not going to spread his information, and I appreciate that. However, I'm going to ask you to go one step further. You said that you're not responsible for the one who uncovered his information, that you had received an email or a private message from this person giving you that information. Well, if you're in touch with this person, I would strongly urge you to tell them to knock it off, to stop spreading this information. Because if it gets in the wrong hands, if something should happen to the captain, there's going to be a backlash throughout the United States against Muslims. Whether I like it or not, this is inevitable. It might not be fair to a lot of good people, but a lot of good people will end up getting hurt in addition to the captain. And I'm sure you don't want that. In addition, since people saw you threatening to spread this information to groups, some of whom might have members who could do harm to him, there's no doubt in my mind, if anything were to happen to him, you would come under suspicion and you will be investigated. I'm not saying this is right or not wrong. I'm not claiming that it was your intent to really threaten him, but these are the realities. This is the way it is. So I think it's in your interest and the interest of the captain and of a lot of people that nothing happens to him. I'm sure you didn't intend for him to be threatened. I'm sure you didn't intend for anything to happen to him. But I would urge you to take it a step further and contact the person who is spreading this information to tell him, hey, knock it off. You're being irresponsible. A lot of people can get hurt if something does happen to him. Now, I wish I had time to go into the videos to try and figure out who's right and who's wrong. And it's possible that two people can look at the same data and come to different conclusions. That you might really be telling the truth as you perceive it, and that Redhannah might be telling the truth as she perceives it. So I'm not going to be accusing you of lying. I'm not accusing her of lying, and I wish I could investigate more. Unfortunately, right now I just have too many projects on my plate to get very much involved in this. But I hope you'll take my words to heart. And again, I'm sorry for not having responded to your video. I admit to negligence, and I hope you'll forgive me on that score. This has been the Masked Analyst, under and in.